Imagine living with a condition that affects every aspect of your life. For millions worldwide, this is the reality of sickle cell disease. So joining us today is Dr. Rhoda Peter. She's a team lead, Sickle Cell Warriors Care and Healthy Living Foundation. Let's uncover the complexity, breakthroughs, and stories of resilience. Okay, Dr. Rhoda, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm so
Welcome to
glad
the
to be
show.
here. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I'm so
Finally,
glad
we
to
have
be
you on the
here.
table today.
Very.
Yeah. So let's talk about sickle cell. You know, I'm going to start with this story a friend of mine told me a few days ago.
Okay.
She said, back then, her younger brother, who kind of had this sickle cell disease, you know, was termed an abiku, you know. So they gave him so much marks on his body each time he had this crisis, you know. And now the guy has grown. He's married. Unfortunately for him, he's married to a woman who is AS. But before they got into that marriage, her what they call it, her test result when she went for her, yeah, was showing she was AA. Now they have a child with SS, sickle cell, and the trauma is like he's relieving, you know, those traumas he went through when he was a child. Now he's going through the same thing because his child is like suffering, and each time the child goes through those crises, it's as if he's the one relieving those things, you know. So I felt so sad for him. I mean, I felt so bad about the whole situation and all of that. So I'm going to start like this. Let's have some of those misconceptions you think people have about people living with sickle cell. You call them the warriors, the warriors, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know you're going to hit me like that. Okay, it's unfortunate that even in this our time, people are still, you know, I don't know what to, whether I can use the word misconstrued. We are kind of like, the warriors are kind of like misunderstood, misconstrued, and then misplaced. Because I call it misplaced because people would want to think that these ones are already been sentenced to a life that will eventually lead to death. You know, but it's that's really an error, and this arose because of these tagged misconceptions, like one of them which I just addressed, that you're sentenced to dying or death at a particular age, and some people think that the children are not normal, like how the Yorubas call it the abiku, right? And then there are people that are just passing through life. They will probably just come and then just die. And then there's the other misconceptions, like people who are warriors, like sickle cell warriors, they don't get to have children. There are misconceptions like they are not bright people, they're always sick, and they are not intelligent, they won't provide anything important in the society, or they're always weak people. So people tend to stigmatize and push them to one side. Some people think that they're not growing people, that they get to a particular level and then they stop growing.
Wow. Yeah, that one is quite common.
Excuse me. So they just think that they are cursed people, but it's not supposed to, supposed to be so. Those are wrong misconceptions. And then even they'll have some cultural beliefs that think that maybe because this child was born, maybe the parents did something wrong in the past, and then so it's coming down to haunt them. It's like a curse that was sent down from generations to generations and all of that stuff. So yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some of the challenges most of these warriors face.
Okay, the major challenge for me in this our climb and culture is the cultural differences. Sorry, in this our climb is the cultural differences that that expose warriors to stigmatization. Yeah, that's like one of the most common is the stigmatization, even in school, at the workplaces, even in the society. And then some of these things actually cause a lot of problems, especially warriors who have challenges even settling down.
Okay.
So that's like a social problem.
Mm.
And then because of this actually exposed them to also mental health challenges. So that's an issue which, excuse me, has really bothered a lot of warriors. You push them into depression, push them into different scenarios that is not just good, because once the mental health has a problem, it's detrimental to the physical health. And then one of the things that happens is what we call oxidative stress. When that happens, when there's an increase in that, of course the cells begin to sickle.
Okay.
So it's not just only the physical impact, even the mental health has a way of causing a lot trauma,
Okay.
inducing stress that can also induce sickling. So it's an issue. I mean, you see children that actually grow up in a loved up environment would actually thrive more. That's when you take out other factors in place. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so having...
I know you're going to ask
Okay,
what
you
is
have,
sickle cell.
you have,
No, go ahead.
Well, I think we'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
It's necessary. But I want to ask, based on what she has said, what are the challenges? What are the yearnings? You are a warrior advocate. You call yourselves warrior, and I just like that name. So what are people advocating for? What do you think the warriors need from the society?
Okay. Basically, the warriors just need to be heard.
Okay.
I would want to say the warriors need to be heard. The warriors need access to good health, access to even good health care. For example, recently we've been clamoring for insurance to be included in, expanded into the insurance schemes. Warriors need a space to thrive, because if you don't give them that space, why I'm saying so is because we've had stories where individuals call and then said the parents are pursuing them from the house because they feel that they're a burden. We have a set of twins that were abandoned by their parents. They left the kids with the grandmother, and this is the grandmother that can barely feed. So every single day of her life, she's cursing the kids. Like, see what you've subjected. This thing I'm saying is not made up. It's a real life stuff. We see it even in our support groups. See what you're causing. See how you're stressing me. You guys are a serious problem to me. I wish you were not even there. And then we'll have to start, speaking to her all over again. That every single thing you're saying, these kids are hearing. They may be 11, they may be 11, they may be 12, but it's sinking deep.
Yeah.
So every single day they look at you and then they think they're a problem. It's not helping them at all. We also have a family who also has a set of twins, warriors too. I know the stress is a lot on the parents, so sometimes the mother, she lashes out, and then these people see it. So the thing is that when there is not an enabling environment, so it's just every single person just needs that space to thrive like every other person.
All right. So I don't know, for some of our audience who might not really understand what sickle cell is all about, in just few minutes, can you just explain to our audience or to us what exactly sickle cell?
Okay, sickle cell disease, also in a short form SCD, because I think along the line I may likely have to use SCD to shorten it. It's what we call an autosomal recessive disorder. Yeah, I will break that down, because when they said it's autosomal recessive, it means that two parents that have the trait, recessive, they have the trait, would have to be the ones to pass down the sickle cell gene to the child that is affected. Which means that, say, my parents, my father is AS and my mother is AS, that means I would have to inherit S from my parent and S from my mother to come down with sickle cell anemia. That's the SS, that's the one that is in the sickle cell disease that is in its what we call homozygous form, because it has one S and S. Well, there are others that are SC, and we have the beta thalassemia, HBS, beta thalassemia. We have even SO, we have SD, SE, and how you want to put it. Yes, there are different variants. So sickle cell is an inherited disorder, but a father must have one of the abnormal sickle cell, that must have the sickle cell gene, and the mother must have the sickle cell gene, to have a child that would actually have, yes, the sickle cell disease.
All right.
So when you talk about the variants, are the other variants as serious as the? Is there any? I don't know. I think.
Okay, the most common.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The most common is the sickle cell anemia, and that's the one we all know as the SS, HBSS. Other variants are not as, and that's like the most serious. Okay, because there's other variants, not like they are not having their complications that are associated with it, but then the sickle cell anemia tends to have deficit and then tends to be more serious, and is the one that's even most common in this our climate.
Does it generate to, is there like it's mild and then it comes up to a greater level of it, or once you're done with a particular variant, that is how it is for life, or does it generate to another kind of variant?
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay. Basically, like I said, once you take this S and you take this S, that's your own genotype.
Okay.
Because what you're trying to say is that means if you're SS today, that means eventually sometime next tomorrow you may change to SC. So except there is a mistake in the in maybe the testing at the laboratory, or that if it's already established, then that is your genotype at that point in time. Yes.
All right, we're going to open our phone lines for our audience in case you want to call Dr. Rhoda to perhaps a question for her, or you have a comment or something to say about sickle cell. You can call us on this line. Our numbers are 0911 209 7653. You can also reach us on 0913 627 5484. Okay, the lines are the numbers are there. All right, Dr. Rhoda, how best can families take care of their family members with sickle cell?
Okay. Like the first thing I said is the support.
Okay.
Support is imperative, because without the support you can't achieve what you want to achieve, whether it's care. And there's a question, can my child live a normal life living with sickle cell? But of course, yes. Okay. That's the first thing they have to understand, that my child can actually live a normal life with sickle cell. And the best way to do that is first accepting the situation. And once you accept the situation, the next thing is to ask questions. How can we go about achieving a normal life for my child that lives with sickle cell? In other advanced climb where we have advanced tests done, sometimes from newborn, the child is tested and screened. You can actually know if the child is going to have a serious variant depending on the number of sickled cells and all of that stuff. Yes, although babies, when they are born, they have what we call the fetal hemoglobin that stays for a while and gives them that immunity, right? And then they kind of like grow up, and then when it wears off, it's being replaced by the adult hemoglobin, they begin to have crisis. But this is what happens when from from that infant age, there are medications that are there on ground. For example, now the popular hydroxyurea that is given, that one, what it does is that it increases the fetal hemoglobin, because that actually reduces the level of crisis. that somebody or a child can have, you know. So when it increases the fetal hemoglobin, the child has less crisis. And then there's some places where you can actually know the amount of, you know, fetal hemoglobin that a child has. But of course, we are still growing and all of that stuff, you know that. So those investigations help to know this one will have more crisis, or I'm going to have more crisis, and I'm going to have lesser crisis, and then you know how, you know, what to manage it and what you should do per time. Because you've seen cases where somebody can stand there and you're like, oh, you don't look it. Understood? And then the other person will like, oh, you really look it. Then there are some persons that maybe when they were younger, they had a lot of crisis. But as they grew up, it reduced. While there are people who, they did not even have crisis at all until maybe after secondary school, the crisis came. And then there are people that they've not even known if they have sickle cell. Maybe after like 35 years, something happened. That was like their first crisis ever. There are people that are like that. So it's you know, it happens, and there are places that you can actually know, okay, I can have more crisis than this other person, so what I can do. So the first thing now is to seek help, medical help, and then if that particular kind of investigation is possible where you are, you go ahead and do it. And then you have to have a physician, a personal physician, and then the hematologist who that's their own specialty, to, you know, and where you have your regular checkup, and then you have an individual plan is going to be drafted according to your kind of person. I call it individual self-care plan. Of course, you only have to do that with your doctor, and then this care helps to keep you in check and to prevent the complications and crises that come with sickle cell.
All right, so what I was talking about actually is, you know, when you have children who are warriors, what are those care like in the house? I know the doctors must tell you.
Okay, so
like,
maybe she will tell us how the crisis presents itself, and then
when
how to manage it.
No, when you know your child has sickle cell, and you are in a joint family, all right? Now there are other people around. When you see a child going through crisis, what are the best way to help that child at that point?
Oh, you meant crisis, because I was thinking it's prevention and care.
No, not prevention, care. You know, how best families can care for children who have sickle cell.
Okay, best care for sickle cell, care for crisis are two different things.
Okay.
So if you're talking about crisis, I usually always tell parents the first thing you do is for it to be in a stable state of health. Because both mentally and physically, because when you're kind of like stable, it's a mindset. You will know how to make proper decisions. And then, like I'd already said, by this time you would already have your healthcare professional who is managing your child. So there's a particular level you will get that some things you can call and then it will tell you, come in. Do you understand? Come in, and then you know, since it's something that lives with you, after some time you know how to manage it with the individual self-care plan. So there are certain levels at which per time you can manage. For example, of course you cannot just stay on your own and then just manage. Because that plan has to come. But if it's your first time, you're a first timer, I would advise you to go to the hospital. And then from there, you'll be given that particular, once the child is stable, you'll be given that particular plan on how to know. Because like the most common kind of crisis that we all know is the pain crisis.
The what?
The pain crisis.
Pain,
We call it vaso-occlusive crisis. And then if you're someone that's already vested, your child can tell you how, although babies and children can't really tell you how painful it is. But the ones that can speak will tell you it's just small. And then maybe that one just a pain relief and rest and hydration, a lot of water, because it's key to actually drink lots and lots of fluid because of how the cells are shaped. So they tend to, you know, they tend to have a lesser affinity to oxygen, so they can't bind and they can't move sweetly, so they become sticky. And when they get sticky like that, they occlude the vessels, and they become sluggish. You know, when they become sluggish, they can't move, and because of that, they can stay in at a particular spot and cause that severe pain.
Yeah.
So when they tell you to drink water, it helps to free up the movement. So some may just be reversed by just drinking a lot of fluid. That's why sometimes when they say get to the hospital, for those that can't drink, they will get hydrated in the hospital through parenteral means. Okay, that's true.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go on a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with our discussion. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for being there. So we are still discussing sickle cell disease, and we have Dr. Rhoda in the house talking to us about sickle cell, how it comes about, how to manage it. We still have a whole lot to talk about, but first let's take some tweets to see if we can have a different line of discussion. We'll have our first tweet here, and it's from Uncle Radar, or Radi. It says, information is indeed light. Imagine there was a time sickle cell anemia children were tagged Abikum, okay? And the parent will keep trying over and over with the belief that it is a child that didn't want to stay in the world. Okay. I guess I understand what he's trying to say. And then this one from V says, thank God for medical sophistication. In this country, sounds crazy, but kids with sickle cell were once called abiku, okay, given strange names and marked to stop them from dying, not knowing it was actually sickle cell or other chronic conditions we didn't understand at the time. And then the next to say, I may be stubborn, but I understand that living with sickle cell implies I will need help at different points in my life. Even if I don't ask for it or want it, I will need some help. And it breaks my heart because a certain part of me thinks I can wing it on my own. And then the next tweet says, no one will force you to be friends/date or marry people with sickle cell, but kindness and sensitivity is important. Best way never die, no the kind that way go kill them. Okay, so you've had experiences with people living with sickle cell. Doesn't mean you should reduce those warriors to failure. Okay, that's great tweets there. You want to react to any of the tweets?
Okay. Basically everybody is talking about the mental aspects of it, and that's why that's the thing we actually addressed earlier. Okay. Because I can't overemphasize that, because I know what it is. From experiences and every other thing, we know that mental health is key. It's not just even about sickle cell, even other conditions. Because the moment you tag someone something, it stays with them, and somehow affects them, even the way they move. Because the truth is, we've had lawyers, we've had doctors, we've had politicians, we've had web scientists, we've had musicians, we've had people come out excellently well in their lives, do greater things with sickle cell. Why do you want to limit your child because you think that the child has sickle cell? Information is key, and that's why social groups, support groups are actually important, especially for abandoned sickle cell children. Even I've seen cases where a pregnant sickle cell, client was abandoned by her spouse because he thought she was going to die. And this is someone who looks really fine, healthy, even finer than she looks thicker than me. She put to bed and everything. And how do you think that is going to affect her? Whether you've made her because maybe he went somewhere and then got an information that this particular person is not going to survive, or she's the reason why his business is not thriving, really. So he locked her out of the house.
Wow.
Because you think that she's cursed. So she's going to bring problems to you. So these are the issues that need to address. And if the society and they are not properly, educated and informed, it will keep, happening like that. And it's not supposed to be so.
It just reminded me of recently where I saw a huge couple who came out crying. I think I saw it on Punch newspaper or so, when she said, she's always having a crisis, and in her place of work, sometimes they just tell her to just go. They're tired. So I can imagine the kind of pain she's going through and all that. So she was actually calling out to government to put in place some kind of policies where people can recognize the pain they go through, and then to curtail this this sending them home or trying to make them look like you're of no good if you have this kind of condition. So what do you think? What kind of policy do you think government can put in place, to at least shield them from such behavior?
Okay. First and foremost, apart from having policies, there needs to be an enforced community education, continued community education, and then workplace policies that give people the leverage. At least you cannot tell me that is every day the person is always having crisis. And the person, you have to understand that it's just a temporary fix. You can decide, okay, instead of giving this person something so harsh, I can give this person maybe a different role to play, because it doesn't affect the brain. Why do you have to stigmatize the person and see the person as a problem when the person is really not a problem? And then another thing that is also important is that, like I always say, because I like to come out, I like to be in the middle ground, because like I said, there are personal experiences where you cannot speak up because for fear that someone will talk to you or see you as someone that is not doing so well. So it's important that even you as a warrior, you need to take care of yourself, because there is this neglect in some people, not everyone, because you feel that this is what it is, so everybody they have to understand you. You have to understand that as long as you're in a society, just like you on the road, you can't be a learner and go and drive on Onitsha Expressway. Nobody would see your learner sign because you have actually no business being on Onitsha Expressway.
If you are a learner.
If you're a learner. So for you to get to Onitsha Expressway, you need to go and get your. Nobody said you should not drive on that road. You can drive on that road as many times as possible, but ensure that your hands are strong, because it's not everybody on that road that is normal. So no matter the policy that the government tries to enact, there are still places that understand what I'm trying to say. That we will not even the government itself, they will not even be able to enact it, because some of them too are also doing the same thing. Because you get a system where everybody sees everybody as and expects that no excuses. You need to live up to your responsibility. So you have to go for roles that you can fulfill without having any problems with anybody. And please, on the employers, they because you feel that this is something that is what's it called, is not a death sentence, you can actually help that person. What you need to do as an employer, get to read up on sickle cell. What is this thing really about that this person keeps having crisis? Maybe you can actually help this person to even live better. You can help the person to get to even to the hospital on time. You know, even because sometimes people don't speak up because they are afraid that you may want to talk to them anyhow. So there should be policies that have people to have proper education of everybody's health condition, and don't, because of understanding that, you now push the person to say, or you don't want to employ the person. Because people will have to lie, just to get some roles because you're not properly educated. So I don't think there's any place that there shouldn't be an exhibition of kindness. So I think the policy should be, there should be no victimization whatsoever who you are. Because these things come with victimization and stigmatization, no matter where you are. Because there are people that are just crazy. They just want, to be mean, irrespective of the condition that they have. So when they now know that, okay, this is what you have, they will not even capitalize on that. So there should be employer-employee kindness, and it should be pari passu. So I think that would also help, at least to some extent, get things properly settled.
All right, so let's talk about the screening, the place of genetic screening for sickle cell diseases. Screening and counseling, how important is it?
Genetic counseling is important, and it's unfortunate that in Nigeria we don't really have genetic counselors, not just for only sickle cell, for any kind of genetic disorder. Okay. Because the genetic counseling would even address most of these issues that we are talking about, because their job is to educate people properly, and then the education is not because they are trained not to accuse. Okay, they are trained to give you awareness on this particular condition, and then give you the options that are down on ground, and then for you to decide. So it's actually a very sensitive part, but it's very important. From even premarital counseling is important. Even at the community level, the school level is important. And then even when a woman is pregnant, like I said, I talked about the pregnant sickle cell patient who was abandoned. We have cases of abandonment, even at addressing high risk individuals, like such person who is likely to have a child living with sickle cell. At that level is important. Even an AS woman who didn't even know that she was AS is important. Genetic counseling is important at that point in time, even for her spouse or her other significant other. So genetic counseling is important. It helps a lot, because once you are able to identify a child who may likely be born with sickle cell, there's also going to be counseling and screening at that level. We call it newborn screening. It's on the spot screening. And then those children will now have early intervention to reduce, crisis, because the more crises you have, the more crises you have, you can get to a point that too much crisis can actually, cause permanent sickling. And that way, it gets to a point where you're always, having it becomes almost irreversible. So it's important to start early to prevent, frequent sickling.
So where is the place of genotype and genotype basically?
That's okay. I didn't just spell it out.
So because when you say you don't have that, I know that is done regularly these days over time.
Sorry, what did I say that?
Genetic.
I said genetic counselors.
Counselors.
Yes,
okay.
Genetic counselors.
Okay.
It's a huge course. You have to go to school for it.
Oh, okay.
And get a degree, actually.
Okay, so it's not enough, because I know even in the educational curriculum these days, you have, I think biology or so, where they talk about the chromosomes, X, Y, AS, blah, blah, blah. So is that not part of the education? Is
genetic education?
enough?
Okay, no, when I was talking about the genetic counseling, I was talking about genetic counselors. It's a course on its own.
Okay.
You have to go for it as a course. in school, university.
Okay, yeah.
But in the area of prevention, when I talked about testing, yes, the checking the genotype is important. From a young age, the genotype has to be known.
Okay.
At the secondary school level, there will have to be genotype testing. We see conditions where people come to the hospital and just ask for the result to be doctored just so that their children can, go to school. They don't want to pay money to do the test. But I think that's an absolute error. Every child should know his or her genotype so that they can start even from that age to make informed decisions.
Okay.
Because once you are able to know your genotype, you will know, okay, no matter what it is, I would not, if I'm AS, I will not plan to have a child with an AS person. And if I have to marry an AS, I will look for other, any other means possible. Yeah, because there are other things to look at, at that point. Because at the end of the day, you cannot force two people who are in love not to marry, but you can counsel them, and then you also talk about what is at stake if this happens. You cannot say, if the two of you marry, this is what will happen to you. You understand? You only say, okay, these are the different genotypes. You understand? This is AA. When an AA has a child with AS, this is the percentage they will have. This is they will have maybe they will have a percentage of carriers, okay? And then if AS should have a child with AS, they have this 25% chance of having a child with sickle cell. That's how it is. If AS and SS marry, they have a 50% chance of having a child. You understand? That's how you talk about it.
Okay.
And then that already, you've already given that education on ground, and then you now tell them that this is what is going to happen, and then these are the various complications that come with a child living and all of that stuff, and these are the other options on ground that you can actually adapt. That's what.
Have you ever seen in your medical years, all your years of having to do with people with sickle cell, have you ever seen genetic changes, like, when someone is AS or SS and all of a sudden it changed?
Okay, we see cases where, I will just give you an instance. A child is SS, okay, and both parents are AA, and there are conflicting cases like that. And the truth is, both parents are actually carriers.
No.
Yes, they are carriers, because the possibility of being carriers is high, because except the child is not from them, okay? But if the child is from them, the possibility of them being AS is high. That is, in fact, that is what it means. At that point in time, you have to explain to them that the reason why this child is SS is because you, father, has the S genotype. I mean, the S hemoglobin, the abnormal, the sickle cell gene, and you, the mother, has the one sickle cell gene, and that is why this child ended up being SS. So at that point in time, you advise for them to have a second test. They will both do their genotypes.
Okay.
Understand? And then you now understand that maybe the time they did that, there was an error, because we have errors in result. Okay. Like you said, he was SS and then ended up with an AS, because not like he didn't do the test. Did it, but because of error in result.
It just has to be error.
Yes,
Nothing else can explain.
It is error, because there's a possibility that when the test was done earlier, it wasn't, done properly, and then it has to be repeated. And then, if you're because we have different tests that can be done per time.
Okay.
We have the common one that we do at the lab, what we call the HB electrophoresis. I will not start talking about that now, but then there are other advanced ones that can actually confirm, the genotype. So the arguments can come up, and then you go ahead and do the various ones that can actually confirm that particular genotype. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So I'm happy you talked about the support group, that means it's already in existence. So how good have people fared with it? Is it limited to, is it a global thing, or it's limited to a particular climate, like maybe you have it in Nigeria only, or then if you have it across the world, do you interconnect?
Yes,
Maybe to exchange ideas and all of that.
At the initial time, sickle cell was a topic people didn't want to talk about, but I'm actually glad that it's a topic that everybody wants to talk about now. And it's not just only in Nigeria. We have support groups in other areas, like here in Akwa Ibom. The Sickle Cell Warriors Care and Healthy Living Foundation has a support group here, like I said, where we support, we have, especially, like I said, the emphasis on mental health is key, because you have to come to a place where you can identify with others and learn how to stay healthy and, you know, reduce complications. So that's what the support group offers. It also offers the mental health support, you know, because we have cases, like I'd already mentioned a few of them, and then people are dealing with a lot. So that's what the support group does. And there are other places and other states where they have their own support groups. So yeah, sickle cell is advancing, and then organizations are clamoring for this, because that way we can help people live better. So yes, we also communicate with others as well.
Okay.
All right, that's so good to know.
Okay, so how about the life expectancy from the support group? You know, initially we've talked about it. You said people used to say they never live long, but you have debunked that in your earlier comments, saying they could be healthy and live a normal life. So from your interactions and experience, what's been the life expectancy, the longest, and then what could be the assumed life expectancy?
The longest one has lived with sickle cell is about 100. I mean, that's in the Yoruba land. I'm sure you've heard of the woman who is almost 99 now, and people go to meet her in Lagos. We have people here who have lived beyond 60. We have people who have lived beyond 50.
Okay.
So that life expectancy, all what was given initially was when there was no care, when there was no awareness as we have now on education. So with education, awareness and care, and with hopefully the intervention, and obviously if the government, you know, plays also a pivotal role in helping sickle cell warriors, we would also live longer and even better. So
all right, thank you so much, Dr. Rhoda, for coming on the show today. You know, we don't have much time. I wanted to ask if we have you know, you could tell us some good testimonies of people, how they've benefited from your foundation and all that.
We have a lot of people that have benefited, especially in the education part.
Okay,
there are a lot of people who taught, who actually, not just in the community, I mean the warriors themselves.
Okay.
They never actually understood what was happening to them until they came. We know of I know of someone who reached out to me on Facebook. She has 2 sisters with sickle cell, and then I was like, okay, just come to the group. And they came. Initially, they didn't know what it felt like to access help. In fact, they didn't want to go to the hospital. And she was like, guess what? My sisters actually asked that they want to go to the hospital.
That's nice.
And then we have a woman, and there's a woman who came to me. I didn't even know her child has sickle cell, because she kept on saying she has headache, she's having low blood, she has a lot of, and we call that thing psychosomatic disorder. And later when I realized that after all the investigation she did, there was nothing wrong, I had to ask her at the consulting room, what is really the problem? And after some time, she broke down. And I told her, okay, you know what? We can't solve this problem here, but I want to invite you somewhere. And I told her, just come, because we have the Oyo in teaching hospital.
All right.
Trust me, that woman is very healthy. The day she came, she was like, Doctor, can you see I'm looking so good? And I'm like, well, I was like, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We have cases like that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Rhoda. It's so good to know. I mean, education helped to break that barrier. You know, she's living a healthy life now. Thank you so much for your insight today, and we are really educated on this table as to what to do and to help people living with sickle cell disease, the warriors. All right, to our audience, we hope today's conversation has shed light on the complexity and triumphs of managing this condition. Let's continue to raise awareness and support those impacted by sickle cell disease. So until next time, stay informed and empowered. From all of us here is bye-bye.